All right, Justin, how are you today? Welcome back.
I'm doing very well, Dharam. I appreciate you having me. It's been a while, but always great to catch up with you.
Yeah, look, I'm very excited to have you again and discuss another interesting topic today. And I'm sure most people like to learn more about that because this is a common topic and this is happening everywhere. So, so let's talk about it.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So the topic today is conflict resolution on multicultural project or program. And the nature of work, we are now in this world, we are working with different cultures, different countries, different religion, different ages, some new, newbies or old bees. Uh, but yeah, and that's where the source of conflict, because some people misunderstanding different point of view. Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely.
Hmm. So my question is to starting question: why is it critical for C-suite executives to understand cultural dimensions when formulating conflict resolutions policies for global programs?
Yeah, I mean, first off, being working in the Middle East for the last, this is scary to say, since 2010. So it's been a few years now, but you're literally working with every walk of life on the planet, which gives you a great perspective on things. And one particular thing that I've learned is expectation management, and by that, you have to understand that when as a leader you're saying something, it's going to be interpreted different ways, just because of the cultural differences from wherever you're from on the world.
Mm,
And so as a a leader, not just a C-suite, but project manager all the way up, or even just a team leader, it's very important to have great communication, but an expectation management. Um, that is a huge part of it. You look at some of these giga projects that are happening here in the region. You must be able to work across all multicultural. And I think one of the things now that, again, this is just Justin speaking, but the other thing that I see where a lot of folks are always emphasizing the differences amongst us, and quite frankly, I personally believe that we are all far more similar than we think, but it's just that we are always focusing on the differences. And so, what I like to do is focus on our commonalities. And I think
commonalities.
when
Yeah.
you do that, I think that helps you as a team, better, in the forming, storming, norming, and performing stages. Having those commonalities, I think, are extremely important. And let's face it, we all have our strengths. It doesn't necessarily even mean from a cultural perspective. Each person has their strengths and weaknesses. And as a leader, especially in these multicultural organizations, and quite frankly, it's globally at this point, no matter what company you're working for, having that embracing the differences, but the commonalities are what bring you together, and being able to play to each other's strengths. That's what's going to set you apart. And what ends up happening, even I'm taking a strategic management class right now, and you can formulate the best strategies and everything else on the planet, and business propositions, but if your company culture is not good, it doesn't matter. You could have the best plans in the world and they won't work. And so having an elite company culture is really what's going to set you apart. And those people are going to feel empowered, and they're going to be the ones that it's going to be easy to retain top talent and attract top talent. And so, really that I personally put that as the pinnacle of everything in an organization, to where if you have a great culture that fosters the understanding and recognizing, yes, we have our differences, but we're also going to use those differences to play on our strengths, each other's strengths, to make us all better. All around, I think it creates to a top performing organization. And from a C-suite, as you said in the question, that's imperative. So if you can really implement that from the top, and make sure set those expectations across the enterprise, you're really going to achieve some excellence.
Yeah. Look, we have to see, I mean, as any leadership position we're talking here, how, we have different kind of people. I mean, actually not different, but different cultural background and all those. They come with the strength. They have their some weaknesses, and as you mentioned, we have to play with the strength and make the best use of the strength we have having as collectively. But their weaknesses or threats, whatever we do, that is what analysis. Understanding them, and then come up with a positive way of dealing with weak areas, positive way of dealing with the threats, positive way of resolving the conflict. Some conflict, if you can resolve effectively with the patience, they can have a long-term effect. Or if you try to use, my way or highway, then sooner or later you will find the team is not going to be there as productive as you're expecting. So as a C-suite, CEO, directors, and other, they have to, of course, ensure that the complete culture is established, which is going to work for the organization in a most effective way.
That's right.
Yeah, perfect. All right, let me talk about the next question. How do senior project managers leverages cultural diversity to enhance conflict resolution strategies in global projects?
For me, again, I'll just kind of go off of my experience and leading different teams from all over the planet. Number one, as a leader, you got to have some humility, and usually, especially when I'm putting together a brand new team that they don't necessarily know me, the first person that I'm going to make, give myself a hard time, make fun of myself, put a little humor in it. As we've talked about in this series, you're usually dealing with some pretty stressful, high intensity situations on deadlines and everything else. It's important to have a good laugh, you have humility, and to be able to bring the team together. And that starts with the leader as a senior project manager or whoever. And so being able to do that shows a little bit of humility. Certainly being able to sit down, whoever has the conflict, again, add a little humor when appropriate, but being able to, all right, hey, you're coming at it from this angle, this person is coming at it from this angle. All right, here's as an independent, viewer of this, I can see it from both sides, but and then explain, all right, whether the requirement by the customer is one way, or maybe it's just a misunderstanding to the fact where they see this as the best way to do it, but the problem is contractually or however it may be, there may be a requirement where you're not able to do it that way. And so maybe that person, even though they have the better way to do it, because of the language in the contract or whatever, we can't do that. And so again, like you've said before, it comes from I personally always say the folks that are having disagreements, I usually even respect even more, because that means they care.
Yeah.
And they want to do the best that they can be. And so I always come at it from the fact that they're trying to make it better. And I think as a leader, that's very important. And there's nothing wrong with conflict. Don't run away from it. Of course, you have to, don't let it, keep it a respectful, environment. But, conflict is not a bad thing. And I think it's kind of a little bit of a taboo in today's world where, oh, we can't have that. No, it's okay to have that. It means you're passionate about what you do. And there's nothing wrong with that. As long as it, stays respectful, and then we find a commonality or common ground and be able to move forward. And a lot of the conflicts that I've always had with team members, it's just maybe they're not seeing the bigger picture. They're only seeing their piece of the puzzle, and they're solely focused on that. So then you come to an understanding, sit the team down, and then you give them that bigger picture, and they're going, okay, now I understand. Yeah, no worries. And again, I have no issue with anyone always trying to find a way that can be done, that can do it better. And so, as a leader, especially as a project manager, when you're you're in the trenches trying to get stuff done. You have to be very good at being able to manage that. And again, I've always come at it from the mentality they're having the disagreement because they care, and they're coming at it from the best intentions. So I think that's very important.
Yeah. I mean, look, as a project manager, you have opportunity to create an environment where it's functioning and is helping positive environment. So, as part of the initiation of the program, planning of the program, you should think about what kind of possible conflict going to be. As a scenario analysis, you can do that. I'm sure you cannot find out everything, but you can think of based on your past experience. Okay, if this happened, this is kind of strategy we're going to have. So if you have some kind of plan, that can be part of a risk analysis. Hey, if this kind of risk happened, if this conflict happened, this is how we want to deal with. And if this situation goes escalate and further this is how the next step is. So that the agreement should be there. Everybody should know this is how the conflict resolution going to happen in the project. When you study for the PMBOK or PMP, they talk about having a team charter. Team charter talks about how to handle the conflict. What are the paths, what is the method you're going to have to resolve conflict and get the maximum best out of everyone. And that is not just your view; it should be the view of the team. Because at the end of the day, the team should be agreeing. This is how we're going to resolve our conflicts.
That's right. Yeah, and then you're exactly right with the risk analysis and risks and mitigation. A perfect example is when I first started doing projects over here in the Middle East. I had a brand new team. No one knew each other, and we ended up building a solid rock star team to where even though that we ended up knowing everyone, we would have a friendly conflict in the fact that there'd be competitions amongst each other to where hey, I did this better, or I completed it faster than you did, and even though I maintained quality, so then all of a sudden it becomes a competition where all of a sudden you're having a disagreement at dinner about you're comparing pictures like I did mine better, then what a great problem to have as a leader, when your team is performing at those type of levels. So you're having fun and executing at an extremely high level. It's winning.
Yeah, I mean that's where if you can create some kind of culture where people are. I mean, how you handle these conflict or positively or creating competition among them and rewarding them.
That's right.
That's what it. As a project manager, do your best. Create a conflict resolution strategies and part of the communication management plan. How this is how you're going to handle, and so on and so on.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. In the context of remote work, how can leaders effectively manage and resolve conflicts among culturally diverse teams distributed across different geographies?
Yeah, this one is extremely hard, and if you're able to master it, you will probably rule most of the universe in the coming centuries. One of my biggest issues is me being on the other side of the world, but the fact that our work week over here is Sunday through Thursday most of the time, and then in the U.S. you're working Monday through Friday, and so sometimes you have to give a little bit, and I'm usually the one that's up at 9 or 10 p.m. or even later, attending meetings back in the U.S. It's not very fun at times, and sometimes you have the ability to like, hey, I'm not going to get up at 1 a.m. to go to this meeting. Is there another way to accommodate the time schedules? You have to be aware of that. I think a lot of times that's always the challenge for me being on the other side of the world. But at the same point, hey, that kind of comes with the territory. You have to adjust to that from time to time, or at least find a commonality. For the most part, most of the folks that I work with, they know that when the U.S. comes online, you got about half the day, that first part from the morning to lunchtime, to really get anything that you need from me before my day truly ends, so that way I'm not, working all hours of the night, and I actually, can spend time with my wife. But again, you have to have that understanding. The other thing I think we are humans at the end of the day. And while this remote work has added capabilities and everything else, nothing can substitute being able to sit face to face in front of folks. And while I know there's a lot of positives, I think there's some negatives in the fact that you don't necessarily get to know someone as well. Dharam, you and I had gone through the PgMP and PfMP journeys together, but we had never met. And then one time when we finally got to meet, when I was transiting through Dallas, it's just different, and it kind of puts the cherry on top where, okay, I've actually met this person, and you get to sit across the table from them. That can't be substituted, and it never will be as long as I'm still breathing. That's the way I see it. And even when you're meeting with customers, I think that it is still important to meet with folks. But dealing with that again, you have to find ways to really get the team together. And I know my company does a great job of we get together a couple times a year where all of us come in from all over the world to at least sit in the same room as one another, and you really actually learn. Like I learned about different things within our company that we do that I had no idea about. Like, hey, we have those needs over here, but without being in person, I would have never known that. And so you have to find those ways. But again, you have to create that environment to make sure that folks are able to come to those and really open up. Sometimes I think when I get behind a computer too long, I force myself just to go out into public just to speak with a person, face to face, because if you don't, like any skill, if you don't use it, you lose it. And so it's very important to use the best of both worlds. Of course, technology is great to have at your fingertips, but you got to find ways to get folks in the same room together. There's no substitution for it.
Yeah. Look, this is a reality now because most of the companies have to are working with the remote workers sitting different part of the world, whether they are sitting in India or Saudi Arabia or Manila or US, anywhere. But and as a leader of the project program, you have to build some strategy around that. You cannot be physically going everywhere, or you cannot get them in the same room. I mean, your company is lucky, they have more money. But let's say if you have a bunch of developers, can they come to let's say US for a trip or just for attending a meeting?
Yeah.
Probably not. Visa problem, another thing. So look, we know there's a complexity, but understanding. I mean, as a leader, you need to know what's going on. The problem with the remote work, you don't see them, and when you don't see them, you will just see what is happening at the time. You see it only the face, but under the face, we're seeing the tip of the iceberg. But what else is going on in their life, you will not know unless they tell you specifically. So there has to be some kind of honest and open culture where your team members are okay to share some of the uncomfortable situation they are in. Their conflict within the group, conflict with the managers, whatever it is. So tell you one example. When I was working for HP in Sydney and setting the cloud data center for the Asia Pacific level. Now my team was sitting in Manila. The people going to do a lot of backup and this and that. They're sitting in Manila, Philippines. Now these people came to Sydney, and I've done the tour and took them out to the data center and all kind of things. At least I know them. Now they are back to Manila. But I'm talking to them. I'm trying to have as a project manager of that project, I want to make sure that I'm talking to them one-to-one level to see how they're going, what is happening. One of the evening when I'm talking to this guy from Manila, he was very disturbed, and he is going through his personal challenges. It's not a conflict, but personal challenges. And after a while, he started crying, literally crying, and he said, Dharam, this is going so difficult for me. I'm working most of the time 2 shifts. Sometimes I have to work on 3 shifts because of somebody did not turn up on that night. And it is causing a lot of discomfort in my personal life, my family life, and this and that. And as a leader, I cannot do much what is happening in personal life. But I said, okay, you know what? The work we are doing is strategically very important for HP, and I cannot afford for you to work in multiple shifts. So let me talk to my manager and to see if I can make it possible that you working only in my shift. So you and your other team member. So that I was able to, after talking to my manager said, yep, this we cannot accept that, and he managed to get them into my shift. So that helped me to build relationship with them, and they know that the other side, the project manager is really caring and looking after us. So you need to create that environment where there's a trust on the both sides, especially when we're talking. I mean, any environment where face to face or remote work, especially remote work, because you don't see them physically, you just see their face, a smile all the time, but behind the smile there may be many things. So create an environment where you have open and honest discussion happening, and you should also have a listening capability. Of course, you are the project manager directing, do this, but you should also listen to them. Sometimes listening is very important. Listen to both sides and try to understand and see if you can find some resolution, bring them on the same table and try to figure out.
You're absolutely right, Dharam. Yeah, and even different managerial styles, like you said, with the remote work. Even just some of my greatest bosses, they'll just randomly call me and say, "Hey, I was just checking on you. How you doing?" That one-on-one goes a long way. And that actually makes you feel pretty good when bosses will just do that. Not calling you for a or a specific initiative or anything. I just want to check in. I mean, I remember when I was deployed, working with the U.S. Air Force. The boss would just come down and say, "Hey, I was just checking to see if your guys you're getting the mail from home, and just seeing if how you're doing. Like don't worry about catering to me about anything. Just checking on you guys. That's all I wanted to do." And so that and that generates such great respect. I remember when he would do that. I kind of put that feather in the back of my cap, going, "All right, if I get to that level of leadership, that's a great quality. That's something that you like." And vice versa. If as you're rising through the ranks, and you're going to see qualities that you're going to like, and there's going to be qualities that you don't like, and make sure that you keep those lessons in your back of your mind, so when you become that person that in that leadership role, you can be the best version of yourself.
Definitely. Great. Thank you. How can organization promote inclusivity to address stereotypes, biases, power dynamics that may lead to interpersonal conflict within multicultural teams?
Yeah, I was actually just doing a little bit of reading as of recently, and certainly there's stereotypes and everything else under the sun. But again, I still go back to the fact that we have far more in common than we do differently.
Yeah.
And so that has to be a focus. But number two is what I was reading recently, and it's kind of a big challenge right now, and is listening to understand, not to respond. And that is becoming something that folks really have to really take a step back and realize what they're doing, because if you're present, if you're being present in the conversation, you're actually listening to what someone is saying, to understand, take a pause, and then respond. But a lot of times in our quick, fast-paced environment, it's whatever you're saying, Dharam, I'm really not listening. I'm just waiting until you stop to respond, to tell you why you're wrong and I'm right.
Exactly.
And that is something that is becoming a major issue, quite frankly, in our globally connected world. And so that is something that I've actually been reading a lot of lately, and making sure that, number one, I can be the best that I can be, because, hey, let's face it, there are times that, hey, you think you're doing it the best way, and reality is you're probably not. And so again, you have to have that humility, because you can't have that need to be right all the time, and you have to be able to recognize the fact that, hey, you have your own weaknesses too, and instead of trying to hide them, make yourself better, try and make that weakness a strength. And so with your team, when you have that humility, and again, I use humor and make fun of myself as when I can, because that creates an environment where everybody else kind of is like, all right, they can kind of relax a little bit, be themselves, and again, have that understanding that we have far more in common than we do different. And so then again, when everybody is listening to understand, you're going to eliminate a lot of that, and again, you're going to create that environment where it's going to be a very high performing team.
Exactly. Look, it's a human nature. We see other person or get biased because of something, because of same country, same religion, or same language, or something like that, or maybe different, and we make our own opinions about the other person. And that can be based on your past experience. Hey, this is what happened with when I was dealing with this person from this country, and he was so mean and so, and that become part of your thinking as well. So now, when you are talking to other person from the same country, from the same culture, you already have made up the mind. Okay, this person is going to be like this. He's going to be, maybe stabbing on the back, something like that. What happened in my past life? No, that's where you need to see every situation, every person uniquely. You should not be, seeing as it happened to you in the past, or some of the experiences. You need to see, okay, this is my situation, and this person is different. Spend time to understand the person. Everybody is different. While they look same, or feel same, but they have different soul, different, thinking going on. So I think that one of the things is we should be spending time to understand the person, and that can help us to avoid lots of interpersonal conflicts. And so that's one example I can give you actually. And going back to my HP program where I was working with and actually this cloud technology was very new to me. I have no idea about cloud, especially from technological point of view. I've done the data center migration, the relocation, all kind of thing, but cloud was new. Now, my problem was I'm going to work with a network engineer, network manager, actually. He's the senior most person in the network group, and I'm going to work with him. Now, I was told by many people, look, he hates project managers. He will not, he will not talk to you like a human being. So initially I was got worried. I was getting worried because I have to. This is the main person I have to work with, and if he's not going to come along and not going to support me, then we cannot do much work. But I took a step back and okay, this is a person I know. He's a great guy, but what are the skills? What are the what strength he has? What weakness? And what are his cultural, or maybe you can think of other interest. Now, when I was going to a data center visit, he was with me, both of us. Now, instead of talking about my work and what work we have, and I start talking about something outside of the work. Now I seen his LinkedIn and I seen his Facebook, a little bit knowing about him. Now the conversation about the game, rugby, as one of the Australian game, and how much interest, what is the team, this and that. I have no idea before talking to him, but I was showing genuine interest that the team you're working on. And before I realized that the conversation and the discussion happening and the relationship we built in that discussion was so powerful. And when I was coming back, then he said, Dharam, I know you're new to the cloud, you're new to the organization, you have least information about network and this and that. But if you come across anything, if you need any help, just call me. You just come to my room or just pick up phone and call me. I can be in any meeting with you. So I could have kept my, that mindset that this person is like this, or I have turned around the table. And that's where the program of working on the cloud data center becomes so successful by just simply building your relationship.
That's right. Yeah, you're so right on that, Dharam. I've come into organizations before, and and had similar things where, everybody's like, oh, that's the good luck with them. You're going to have a rough time with them. And it's like, okay, well, that sounds like an opportunity for me. I kind of embrace those. And usually those folks that have this bad reputation about them, I end up coming out of there going, yeah, they're fantastic. Maybe that means I'm I'm just like them. I'm not sure, but but it's literally when I come out of there, I'm going, all right, the rest of that team just doesn't understand them, and they're most of the time misunderstood. Or the fact is that maybe that person had set expectations and his team didn't deliver, and so they were he obviously had to take action, and maybe they don't like that. And so, but when you're upfront and honest with someone and you deliver for them, do what you say, and don't let them down. It's pretty hard for anybody to be upset with you. And it ended up being some of the best relationships that
Yeah.
when I proved to that person that had this bad reputation, hey, this is someone I can count on. You're off to the races, and they end up taking care of you better than any other leaders that I've come across. So it's don't walk into a room with some preconceived notions from other people. Form your own opinions, and you'll be just fine. So
Yeah, exactly.
that's some of my best advice.
Yeah. So keep yourself open. Don't just stick to your one view. Allow yourself to learn about other people, other culture, and you will build relationship basically. More better relationship you build, and you will have a better chance of having good rapport. The having chance of interpersonal conflicts become very low. And take this as an opportunity. If there are some, time to time we do get to work with people which have difficult personality and this and that, and that's where your opportunity. How can I deliver my work in this difficult situation and get the maximum out of this?
Yeah, I mean, even my wife will probably kill me for this, but my wife is from another country, and we come from two completely different walks of life. And but turns out when you sit down and we talk to one another, it's like actually we have the exact same beliefs. We have far more in common than differences, and we play off each other's strengths. And so it's fantastic. And so again, but we like to make fun of each other from time to time. But hey, her culture will do things better than my culture, and vice versa. So we like to have a little fun with it.
Yeah,
Life's
exactly.
too short, so got to have some fun and embrace the differences. So yeah, and I certainly like her cooking more than my own, so we like that.
Good. All right. Good luck with good luck as well. If she's around you. Okay. Okay. So my next question is: what role does technological innovation play in bridging the communication gaps and resolving conflict in multicultural project teams?
I will even go old school on this one a little bit, Dharam. Just once we finally had the internet, back in the day when you were getting on an airplane to travel before the internet, you really maybe you had an encyclopedias, but encyclopedia sets were extremely expensive back in the day, if you remember. And so you really, when you're getting on a plane to go to a different country, you really didn't know much about what you were getting into.
Yeah.
And and so nowadays, even when I go to a new country, before I even book the flight, I'm going on the websites and just learning about, okay, what are the do's and don'ts, number one, and the different cultures and what to expect and the languages and of course I like to figure out what are the best what foods are they best known for, of course. And embrace the fact that you're going to go somewhere different. And so with technology being that you can do all that research ahead of time, it's a tremendous tool, and just having the internet and just doing basic searches. I had recently gone to Vietnam. I had not been there before, and certainly the United States has as history there. And so being able to go to read up on it, what I was able to expect, but again, keeping in mind what I was able to expect, but still having that open mind that, hey, maybe what I read might not be the truth. And so there may be some biases in it. Again, you have to remind yourself. And then I always love the fact that when I get somewhere, I want to be with the local folks, get yourself out of your comfort zone. That to me gets the juices flowing. But from a technology perspective, being able to research and understand a little bit about the country or the place that you're going to and its people and the backgrounds and understanding. A perfect example is I'll be going to Japan soon. They're certainly known for their efficiencies and their work ethics and their national pride and all those fantastic things. And engineering, how they're able to engineer buildings to withstand the earthquakes, and mind-blowing things that it's an amazing, very rich and deep culture. I constantly, once you kind of get in that mindset, you kind of go down the rabbit hole of, wanting to know more and more and more. So then when you get there, you can sit down with a local and ask them questions and be a little bit more knowledgeable because you've done the research and spent the time to have a better understanding of their way of life. And so then all of a sudden, when you have that knowledge, when you go there and you sit down with someone, you're going to have a great conversation and really learn, and they're going to take the time to set the record straight if you have anything wrong, or they'll be impressed and really happy that, gosh, they know this about us in the other parts of the world. It creates a great rapport wherever you're going. And so those just minimalistic tools that are at everybody's fingertips are amazing to me. And those are some of the things that I think allow us all to have a better understanding of anywhere on the planet now.
Yeah. I mean, technological advancements happening everywhere, and we know thanks to Google, and then we have thanks to ChatGPT and AI tools are there. So many things are there. So they can actually help you to minimize the conflict or resolving the conflict. You can actually ask ChatGPT, hey, my team, I have this situation. Can you suggest me some options? And believe it or not, it will give you some options as well. May not work.
Right.
You need to think actually, don't just rely on the technology. One thing, yes, very important, technology is there to assist you, not to, give you, don't just take them as it is.
Yeah, perfect. You're exactly right. Like when I finally have done that research and I sit down with a local, I always say, I've read this online. You tell me if it's true or not, or and please correct the record, because that is very important. So they have that understanding that, hey, I don't know and I need you to confirm this. And then so they already know that your intentions are nothing but positive and not trying to make fun of them.
Yeah. And another thing is, talking about technology, let's say if I'm going to Saudi Arabia, I need to know a little bit about the country, the culture, the people, the way they behave, the way they, respect other person, what they expect from you, and all kind of things, a little bit of everything. I know you will not be expert in that, but at least you have some understanding. So when somebody is saying something or doing something for you, it's not they're doing because of the culture. They're not offending you for something. Knowing about that, of course, you can ask them, hey, why are you doing this? They can tell you, we like it or we don't, we don't like you, whatever it is. So doing some research, using all the technological tools we are having is great, actually. I tell you, when I was working, I was working in IT for a long time, and my team was sitting in India, in 2000, actually 98, my first time as the offshore model. And I think in those days was very new. And the team, I'm sitting in Australia, Sydney, new, and my team was in Delhi and other part of the India. But in those days, Facebook and LinkedIn was not there, so I don't know exactly how they look like. And even for the video screening, you want to see them, on the video, it's very costly to book any time like that. So you just rely on their voice and their, and whatever they have, if they share the picture. So now, at least before you talk to the person, I'm talking to the person in Manila. I know how this person is, who is this person, what are the interests, what are the cultural belief system he has. So I will be formulating my discussion point around that. So use this technology. Technology is there for using, but I'm as we very careful what responses you get from the technological. But are you going to use them as it is? You may ask the question, refine the discussion. ChatGPT is very smart in that way. They give you something, you can no, I don't like this. Okay, let me refine it for you. Then you can have a two-way conversation. Actually, ChatGPT can do that with you. It's like a chat machine. You ask question, they respond. You say, I don't like this. Can you just paraphrase this? Okay, let me do this. Can I've tried this many times. It's a great conversation, and then in the discussion, it's like you're talking to your friend, and or if you're executive manager, you have somebody to support you. But this case, they are giving you information, whatever available on internet, and maybe you can say unbiased information. Or anyway, so use this as for your advantage, whether ChatGPT or Google search or bot or whatever, and make the maximum or most out of them.
Absolutely.
Right. Let me take the next ask the next question. How do PMO, Project Manager Office, adapts their methodology to accommodate cultural sensitivities and prevent conflict in multicultural teams?
I think we've covered a lot of it, and going back to that risk and mitigation strategy, and when you're as a PMO, you're looking at different things like over here where a lot of times during Ramadan, because of the sensitivities of the work that we do, hey, that's just that time we need to just not be doing this type of work because you're just not going to have the support that you need during that time. And so, but if you've never done work, in that part of the world, you would never know, and then you're going to be struggling to deliver on time. And so, again, as a PMO, having that central office that keeps all of your actuals and the historicals, that is extremely important from a PMO standpoint. That will help reduce any of those type of conflicts, and having that continuity over time with those individuals in the PMO that's where the real value of a PMO comes into place, because as a new project manager, you're literally you got a wall of information coming at you, and being able to, hey, this is something that we didn't even account for, but the PMO did, that's going to save you in the long run. So again, those PMOs, that's where the real value of that organization can come out, because as a new project manager, let's face it, a lot of times you're just given the project, and you have to read even the bid that you put in, the request for proposal. You're reading the proposal to go, okay, I didn't know we had to execute it this way. And so that PMO has got to be heavily involved, and that's where the value of them really comes out, to where they've already been looking at the mitigation strategies, or have accounted for those particular delays in whatever part of the world that just need to be accounted for. Doing business around the world can be very difficult, and across all these multicultures, getting things through customs or setting up all those supply chains can be very difficult. And that's where the PMO is critically important, having that continuity or the experience in that office to be able to help a project manager navigate all those challenges.
Yeah. So, understanding that that the project managers from different part of the world, they're coming, and don't just expect that they will be perfect on the day one. As a PMO, you are there to support the project managers, guide them, train them, mentor them, and you need to also understand that everybody has different strengths. Just because one person is super smart, he can learn by looking things. Other person may need repetitive. They make mistakes. Let them make mistake as well. And in the process of making mistake, they should learn from that, and they should become better and better. So as a PMO, is actually you have opportunity to set up the ground rules, or various ways we can stop or minimize the conflicts, because understanding the environment, understanding the people's background, and what can work in this situation is very useful for when you're especially dealing with multiple project managers from different culture, different part of the world. So that do help you to, I mean, one important thing is you understand where the other person coming from. And yeah, one of when I've seen one picture, and I'm sure you probably have seen that. This instructor is asking all these animals, including the cat, including the fish or the elephant and the giraffe, to climb the tree. And the birds as well. The birds can climb, or some animal can climb, but fish cannot climb the tree. So, and I'm giving extreme example. Fish, humans are like this. Some are super smart. They have, based on their past experiences, or some are coming from different cultural. Some have, disadvantage because of the, growing up or the background they're going through. So their understanding may not be same as the other person who has been grown up in one of the premier cities of the United States. They are thinking it's going to be very different. So you need to think, you have to see them and accordingly support them.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Now I think we have touched this point. Let's take again. How do integrating artificial intelligence and machine learning tool in project management platform aids in preempting and resolving conflict in multicultural settings?
Yeah, I agree. We've covered that. Again, like you said, it's a tool. Use it. Use it as a guide. Don't be just trusting whatever it spits out at you. Use it as a guide to help you, as another resource and a tool in your entire tool belt. But make sure that again, you're verifying it and making sure that what it's actually saying is something that you're going to be, that is worthwhile.
Yeah. So continuing the talking about artificial intelligence, how are we going to?
Yeah, use it as a tool. Again, it's not something that you can rely on entirely. It's something that it's a tool to help guide you. But again, you got to make sure and vet it out, make sure that it makes sense, because trust but verify, as we say.
Yeah, perfect. Yep. So look, as you talked about, these technologies are there, whether you're talking artificial intelligence, machine learning, and you should be able to integrate some of these technology into your project management tool platforms and help you, guide you, can give you some heads up or you warnings. This is about to happen, in the especially conflict, because of the way people are behaving or the way we are observing, the way they are reporting. There's a possibility something going on. You should pay attention to that. So yeah, I think there are some systems being developed which can feel, or which can send something and give you heads up or indication that you have to act because there's a possibility of conflict coming up.
Yeah, it's a great tool. And at the end of the day, though, I would even add, again, it's one tool of many, but I would use it as a tool to help maybe guide you in a subject or an issue that you're not necessarily sure of. But I would also say, again, call me old-fashioned, but you have mentors, personal mentors, and being able to knock those or put those situations on them to maybe help give you some guidance after you've done your own thorough research is very important in being able to formulate solutions and understandings of the particular conflict. So many times where I've thought I've done the research and then happen to bounce it off of a mentor and he'll go, well, did you think of this? And all of a sudden you're like, wow, no, I didn't. And so again, making sure that you get a full-on perspective from the different tools that you have available to you is very important to be able to, again, formulate your own decision making to be able to move forward. I think is very important.
Right. Thank you. Let me ask the last question. Looking forward, how will the dynamics of conflict resolution in multicultural project team evolve with increasing globalization of businesses?
Well, it's certainly going to continue to be more and more integrated. There's no doubt about it. But again, you can get caught up in all the different things that make us different. But I personally don't think that is the best way to do it. Again, focusing on the commonalities, to be able to build your team. Call it simple, but it's worked for a very long time, long before you and I were on this planet, and it'll work for a long time after, in making sure that you focus on your commonalities. It's no different, within your team, externally to your team, your stakeholder engagement. It's all about relationships, finding commonalities to be able to be successful. And I think while that is a simple advice, I think it's extremely powerful, because we're all different in many different things. We have all kinds of strengths and weaknesses, whether it be culturally or individually. We all have them. I think you acknowledge those differences and use them to your strength. And as a leader, at the end of the day, again, I come from an athletic background. It doesn't matter what it is, but I want to put the best team together to help us win. And so, beyond that, let's find ways that we can win together, and build a team that, quite frankly, hey, maybe one person is going to be really the leader on one project because they have a specific specialty, but the next time another team member has the specialty that we need as well. So when you have a cohesive team, and again, I go back to that company culture. If you have an elite company culture, the situation can always change, but when the team has that great understanding of each other and knowing that, hey, we're going to play off of our strengths together as a team, you're going to win as a team every time.
Yeah, that's it. Look, globalization is already happening for a long time, and it's going to increase. It's not going to stop anymore. And setting up the right process, right, protocols, how to handle with the conflict, whether remote working teams or personally sitting next to each other, how to be culturally aware from other part of the world. So all this thing we need to set up as part of the leadership role or PMO, whatever we are in, so that project manager, whoever is going to work with the multicultural team, they're sitting in different part of the world, and their time zone different, their thinking is different, their backgrounds are different. It's going to be more complex. So, but if you've done the upfront thinking, upfront analysis, you have set up the tools, set up the processes, it will be much easier for you to handle compared to, okay, let's see what happens. So
yeah, and I even think one tool that would be very, very useful is especially when you got a team that's literally all around the world. Take some time, like maybe on a Friday over lunch hour, get everybody on the Zoom meetings and have each group that's like you said, based in the Philippines. Well, do a PowerPoint presentation. Have the team in the Philippines educate the rest of the team on what they think is the best about the Philippines, and teach the rest of the team and how the work-life balance is and what their interests are. And again, just do that rotation and help everybody else be more understanding of the local culture. I think while it's simple, in maybe some folks might belittle it or not necessarily think it's important, those little things go a long way. And so those little things I think will help, again, bring the team together. That'll help everyone understand the commonalities amongst everyone, and while you'll see the differences, again, you're going to find out, as I have around the world, we have far more in common than we do different.
Exactly. Thanks to your going around the world, so you can see different perspective, and that's very important. That's right. If you just, especially, you are lucky, and I'm also in a way lucky. I'm traveling as well. But many people, they don't get to go out even from the city, or maybe from the house. So you cannot physically, but that's where the technology part coming, or bringing the perspective. And you correctly mentioned having some kind of game on one of the Friday afternoon. Create a game. Okay, everybody has, let's say a Philippine person has to come up with the 3-page, 4 pages about the country and the culture. They feel proud of that because I'm talking about my country, and other people get to know about them, their language or some keywords or something like, if you are generate some curiosity among each other. So everybody trying to understand each other's perspective and give them pride and learn from each other. So that's actually can work out really advantageous for people who don't travel, but they can still remember, know from each other's discussions.
Yeah, and I think that icebreaker that I would call it over the lunch hour will help formulate more conversations. And that is really the whole point of it, is to socialize, break the ice, and again, you'll have a better understanding of the culture. But beyond that, it's a better understanding of the person. It creates those interpersonal relationships that again will form a strong bond. So something little like that creates a very strong team.
Right. Great. Thank you, Justin. Thank you for giving us this time. And it was great to talk about various topics from different angles. Yeah, so looking forward for the next session coming up in next few weeks. And then I know by the time we meet again, you will have more travel on your passport.
Yes,
More stamps.
good. That's right. Well, sadly, I find that the more countries I'm going to, they don't even stamp it anymore. You take your passport, put it on the scanner, and that's it. In a lot of countries, so it's again, it's technology is great, but maybe I'm just old school. I like to have those stamps.
I know.
I think one time I was in Australia, I was literally begging the immigration officer. I was like, "Please, can I have a stamp?" And he, "Sorry, I don't have one to give you."
I know. I like to see that my passport. I'm traveling. Okay, can I have this? But yeah, well, thankfully, Germany. They did stamp going in, coming out. So that's good. All right. So Justin, have a great time. Enjoy yourself, and I will see you again soon.
Thank you very much, Dharam. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Take care. Take care, guys. Bye.